show is brought to you, as always, by Manscaped.com. Use the promo code TGT20. And the great thing about Manscaped, it's the holidays. And if you're looking for the perfect gift to give your partner this holiday season, we have the perfect package for his perfect package. The Perfect Package 3.0 Manscaped is the #1 recommended gift all year long. Inside, you'll find their Lawnmower 3.0, which is the best men's below-the-belt grooming trimmer, which can also be used on any part of the body, hairy chest or back. Look no further. Hair down there, the Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0 is designed to reduce cuts and makes for a smooth trim. This 7,000 RPM trimmer has helped reduce manscaping accidents around the world, and isn't that a good thing? In addition, you'll find other liquid formulations inside the Perfect Package, like the Crop Preserver, Ball Deodorant. Yeah, I'm not. Ball Deodorant, which we all know Sam Teets needs. And the Crop Reviver is a ball toner, and it reduces you also get reducing chafing boxer briefs. And I know you probably need a little Crop Reviver, a little ball toner, don't you, Sam?
No, I think that's a little bit for older people, Mike. Maybe something you could use.
Oh, it definitely is, because I hang low, and the older I get, the lower I hang. But these formulations are all vegan, cruelty-free, dye-free, sulfate-free, paraben-free, whatever the hell that is. So you know your manhood is in good hands, so to speak. Remember, save 20% off free shipping with the code TGT20 at manscaped.com. Give your testes the besties with Manscaped. I am your host for Manscaped's NFL show, Mike Goodpasser. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, Sam Teets. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing great, Mike. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing great, and make sure you check out Manscaped. Let's start off with last night. The Los Angeles Rams, 27 to Bucs 24. I believe I did predict us 27-23 Rams yesterday, Sam. And even after I gave you every reason to change your pick to be right, you refused.
I did. I thought that the Buccaneers were going to have enough offensively to just beat the Rams. They have a solid defense in Los Angeles, but I don't think it's a top 10 defense. It's not a top 5 defense, certainly. And I expected more from Tom Brady, and just what we saw in the second half. I mean, the Rams and Bucs both scored 10 points in that second half, but really, it looked like the Rams were much more dominant than the scoreboard shows.
So you don't think the Rams are a top 10 defense?
Maybe top. Maybe I said not top 10. They're definitely not top 5 in my opinion. They might be top 10. I should probably look that up, but I don't think they are a top 5 defense.
I think they might be. I mean, this is a team I think that's defined by a dominant defense. Jared Goff is hit and miss. Sometimes he looks great. Sometimes he's kind of bewildering. But Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and that bunch confounded Tom Brady and the Buccaneers offense on the way to an important win. Rookie Jordan Fuller's second interception of Brady. Each of them shockingly horrible throws fittingly wrapped up the contest. The Rams have moved to 7-3. They keep pace with the Seahawks atop the NFC West. When we look at the Bucs, I think the question is this: are people overrating the Bucs?
To some extent, I believe so, because it is Tom Brady, because of all the pieces they have on that team. They've been incredibly inconsistent. And to be honest, there's only about 5 teams in the NFL right now that I would be willing to bet on every single week. The Bucs are not one of them anymore. I think they're still a very good team. I think they still have a chance to make the Super Bowl. But to me, they are just bad matchups for the Bucs. There are teams that they do not match up against well, and teams that they will not be able to beat. And the Rams are one of those teams. I think the Saints could be another one. And I do stand corrected on my take on the Rams defense. I was entirely wrong. They have the #1 overall defense in terms of yards per game, #2 in pass defense, and #1 in points, or #2 in points per game. So they have one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Yeah, and remember this is a defense that plays in the NFC West where everybody got an offense. Well, the 49ers may not now, but they shut down the Seahawks and Russell Wilson, held him to 16 points last week. I think you're absolutely crazy once again, but at least now you admit it again once I show you the error of your ways, Sam.
Yeah, I was wrong. I'll admit that. And be honest, though, I did not expect Tom Brady to look nearly as bad as he did last night. Because really, I mean, talk about that second half. There were times where he had open receivers. Guys weren't even covered that well. He just missed by 3 to 5 yards, which is something I didn't expect from him in a big-time game.
All right, so the LA Rams, will they win the NFC West?
You know, it's very strange because I think Goff is probably the 3rd best quarterback in that division right now behind Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray. But same point, they have the best defense by far. You got Aaron Donald on that side. I think they're probably going to win. Yeah, I would go with the Rams right now. They do have one more match, I believe, against the Seattle Seahawks. They have 2 more against the Cardinals. So really, we're going to find out what they're made of here at the end of the season. But I would give them the advantage right now because they have a dominant defense. And Jared Goff, to me, as long as he's not turning the ball over multiple times per game, I think they could be perfectly fine on offense as well.
Yeah, and when you look at this, the Seahawks go to Philadelphia. They play the Giants, the Jets, the Redskins, the Rams, the 49ers. I think this could come down to that Seahawks-Rams game, December the 27th, 2 days after Christmas, because neither one of these guys have a really tough schedule. So I think 5-1 for each of these teams is very possible. And I think when you look at that, I mean, maybe 6-0 for one of them, and that would be dependent on who wins the game in Seattle, December the 27th.
But even looking beyond that, January 3rd, you play the last game of the year. So the Rams versus the Cardinals. So to me, there are going to be a lot of chances here at the very end for this schedule to be shaken up because those last 2 games for the Rams, Seattle, Arizona, interdivision games against the other teams that are competing for that top spot. I mean, it's exciting to see a division just like this decided in the final weeks, which is exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, and when you look at the NFC West, right now, you've got the 2 teams tied at the top. The Cardinals are right there at 6-4. Do the Cardinals have a shot?
You know what? I would give the Cardinals a shot because they play the Rams twice. They've already played Seattle as many times as they're going to. But because they had the Rams 2 more times, they would have knocked them out both times. I think they would give them a great shot. Let's face it, they play the Patriots, they play the Giants, the Eagles, and the 49ers as their other 4 games. You should go 4-0 in those instances. And even if you split with the Rams at that point, go 5-1 the rest of the year, you still have a very good opportunity to win this division.
Yeah, so I think it's safe to say there's going to be 3 teams for the NFC West to qualify for the playoffs this year.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be those 3. I think the NFC has kind of dropped off a little bit more as the year's gone on. We kind of discover some teams that maybe aren't as relevant as we thought they were in the first 5 to 6 weeks of the year. But I feel very confident about those 3 teams coming out of the NFC West.
Are all 3 of those teams Super Bowl contenders?
I wouldn't go that far because to me, I don't trust a lot of teams in the NFC if I'm being honest. I trust the Saints, obviously, because they've proven they can win even with Taysom Hill at quarterback. But really, I don't trust many teams beyond that.
They beat the Falcons.
I know against a really good team, it might be a little bit different. But really, I mean, if you can win with Taysom Hill at quarterback in an NFL game, I give them a lot of credit for that. I know it's just the Falcons, but let's be honest, it's the NFL. A lot of teams are high caliber at this point.
Yeah, and when you look at the rest of the Saints' schedule, I mean, the Saints probably have a tougher schedule than those teams. The Saints go to Denver, which the Broncos' defense against Taysom Hill, who knows? That's a game where I may even pick Denver. They go to Atlanta, which should be a win. They go to Philly, which should be a win. But then they host the Chiefs. They host the Vikings, who have shown they're dangerous. And then they go to Carolina. That's not an easy schedule the rest of the way.
No, those final 3 games are going to be key here because obviously the Chiefs, to me, are the best team in the NFL. The Vikings, I not only lost this past weekend, but that offense is humming right now. They can get 28 to 35 points per week pretty easily. And then Carolina, I'm assuming at that point they'll have Teddy Bridgewater and Christian McCaffrey back. It just comes down to whether or not the Panthers are actually going to play their starters in that game.
Yeah, and with the Bucs, you've got a game coming up with the Chiefs, and then you have the Vikings, Falcons, Lions, Bucs, or Falcons again. So you figure 2 wins against the Falcons gets them to 9 wins. A win against the Lions gets them to 10. Should put them comfortably in the playoffs. A win over the Vikings puts them at 11. I don't think they're going to get the game against the Chiefs, though.
No, I wouldn't think so at this point. I mean, we saw what happened the other day. I know the Chiefs are not a fantastic team defensively, especially in that secondary right now, although they do have Tyrann Mathieu. I think they have enough pieces up front to get pressure on Brady, though. We saw Tampa Bay's offensive line's a little questionable. They have Frank Clark and Chris Jones up front for Kansas City. It's going to be a very tough outing for Tom Brady.
All right, guys. And, of course, it's Tuesday, so it's time for Sam Teese's quarterback power rankings. Also, I'd like to introduce Rondo, my pit bull, to the show as he's chilling on the bed, looking on his paw. Quarterback rankings 1 through 5. I think there's no doubt number 1 is Patrick Mahomes right now. Played excellent against the Raiders. Plus, he had that down-the-field drive to score a game-winning touchdown at the end to give the Chiefs the victory. Number 2, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson played much better this week than he did the week before. I think those 2 are pretty solid on anybody's board. I don't think there's anybody that compares to those 2 right now.
Yeah, I know Russell Wilson had a couple of bad games, but that's understandable. But so is Aaron Rodgers, let's be fair. I know statistically he looks very fine, but the only one bad game coming against Tampa Bay. But he has not been consistently great throughout the entire year. Even this most recent loss to Indianapolis, you could make the argument that Aaron Rodgers is not playing as great as you would expect him to.
All right, then we got number 3, Aaron Rodgers. Number 4, Deshaun Watson. Number 5, Big Ben Roethlisberger. Deshaun Watson played on a bad team, but he played out of his mind in this game. I could even make a case for Deshaun Watson to be at number 3.
That's what I was thinking about. This is probably the biggest question mark for me in the top 5 was should Deshaun be ahead of Aaron Rodgers or not because of how well he's been playing. I think Aaron Rodgers played a much tougher defense this past weekend, though, against Indianapolis versus Deshaun playing against an aging New England Patriots defense. So I give a little bit of credit to Aaron Rodgers in that one. I think definitely if you had to give me just purely based on how these two quarterbacks played this week, nothing else taken into account, I think Deshaun probably the better weekend. I think Rodgers played the tougher team.
All right, here's my issue. Number 5, Big Ben Roethlisberger. You've got him too high. I can't believe I'm saying that since I argued to get him higher all year. 6, Josh Allen. 7, Derek Carr. I would go 6, Derek Carr. 7, or I would go 5, Derek Carr. 6, Josh Allen, and 7, Big Ben.
I can see that. I had Ben. Oh, you weren't here last week. That's right. I had Ben at 6 last week. You weren't here to discuss with me. I forgot about that. But yeah, I think it was a little curious about this. I think Derek Carr, I agree with you, could be a little bit higher. And granted, like he's the one interception, but that was a little bit late in the game that really didn't matter. To me, I give Ben a lot of credit for going undefeated so far, because let's be honest, there's nothing else offensively there in Pittsburgh besides that passing game. The running game's basically been absent since week 4 or 5. Josh Allen had a bye week. I moved him up a little bit because I think some quarterbacks ahead of him played poorly. You're right. I probably should put Derek Carr higher because Derek Carr has been playing out of his mind. He hasn't been putting up huge statistical numbers, but I think he's been playing much better than people give him credit for, possibly including me.
Well, the thing is this. They're winning it with a team that runs the ball. He's going to throw the ball less, but it means that when he throws the ball, it's usually in more of a third down situation or something where they need to get it done so they can keep establishing the run game. And he's done that. You've got number 8, Tom Brady, number 9, Kyler Murray, number 10, Justin Herbert. I think Herbert's too high. I know he's playing great, but damn, you got to win some games. And I know that I always defended Joe Burrow, but I don't even think Joe Burrow belongs on this list.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert right now, he beat the Jets. I mean, barely beat the Jets, though. The Chargers.
Well, that's not his fault. That's more of a defensive issue. Because Justin Herbert.
I'm not blaming him for that.
Yeah, Herbert did everything he could do there.
Yeah, so that's why I do have at number 10. I think there's kind of a drop-off for me really after number 9. I guess there's a little bit of a drop-off there, and then we'll get to one later in the list. But to me, Herbert, I think, is good enough to have the 10 spot just because he puts up the numbers. I think he really connected well with Keenan Allen this past weekend, although it was against the Jets team, so you can only take so much from that. I'm surprised. Are you okay with having Brady at number 8 based on after this past loss?
Compared to the guys that are there, I would say yes. He didn't play great last night again. He's had a few stinker games, but I mean, damn, still, if I had to play one game, I'd take Tom Brady over everybody you got below him. Kyler Murray's had a few stinkers. Justin Herbert, just a lack of being able to win games. I think Ryan Tannehill at number 11 is too low. I think he should be top 10. I think Phillip Rivers should be higher. I really believe Phillip Rivers should be in the top 10. I think he should be ahead of Justin Herbert.
I could see being ahead of Justin Herbert in that 10th spot. I don't know if I would go much higher, though, because Kyler Murray has played well down the stretch the last couple of games. He had a little bit of a rough start.
Don't get me wrong. I would not put him ahead of Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's winning games. He's doing what he needs to do. Justin Herbert has had some games that were great games where he makes 1 or 2 huge mistakes. I think Phillip Rivers right now is playing as well as anybody, as crazy as that sounds. I think the Colts are a serious contender here to make a deep run. And the same thing with Ryan Tannehill. I know they had a rocky few weeks in Tennessee, but Ryan Tannehill, for the most part, has played really well all season. They got a huge win in Baltimore. And like I said, in the clutch, you know, it's not that Justin Herbert hasn't played well. I would probably just drop Herbert to 12, and I would probably move Tannehill up to 10 and Rivers up to 11.
No, that's fair. I can get behind that. I mean, Rivers, like you said, has played really well the past 5 weeks or so. In the past 5 games, he's completed about 66.67% of his passes for 10 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions, and passer rating right around 100. So I mean, Rivers it's been a tale of 2 seasons for him. The first 5 or 6 games, he was absolutely awful. I think he was a bottom 20 he's a bottom 10 quarterback in the NFL at that point. Now he's been closer to a top 12 quarterback the past several weeks. And as for Ryan Tannehill, I think the key is getting back on track for Tennessee's offense as a whole. I don't know what went wrong there for a 2 or 3 game stretch, but he wasn't completing a high percent of his passes. And this past weekend, for whatever reason, against Baltimore, which is usually considered a decent defense, they seem to have things figured out.
And then we got Kirk Cousins, who's similar to Phillip Rivers, was really low on this list most of the year. He's played really well as of late in the last month. Wasn't his fault they couldn't stop the Cowboys. You got Cousins at 13, Andy Dalton at 14, Andy Dalton's first game in probably about a month. And no matter what you say about Dalton, the Cowboys only got 3 wins, and I think 2 of them were directly because of Andy Dalton. And I think only 1 or 2 losses were because of Dalton. And I think Thursday, and we'll preview these games on tomorrow's show, that Cowboys-Redskins game is going to tell us a lot about whether Dallas could possibly get this done. Because if Dalton comes out and plays well and Zeke runs the ball well again, the Cowboys may be the most talented team in the NFC East. I think there's no doubt they are, especially with Leighton Vander Esch back. And the Cowboys, with a win over the Redskins, I would make them the favorite to win this division.
Well, I think we thought even coming into this year, they were the most talented team in the division. It was just that we thought Philadelphia was better coached and that Carson Wentz was a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. Obviously, a lot of things have changed since then, but I make the argument now the way Carson Wentz is playing, I mean, even with Alex Smith in that division, I think Andy Dalton by far is the best quarterback in the NFC East right now. And if he keeps any semblance of this up whatsoever, I think he'll be leading his team into the playoffs this year with maybe 5 or 6 wins.
All right, this is where you get stupid. All right. I think this. I think Jared.
I knew this
Goff,
was coming.
I think Jared Goff should be 13 for the entire season. The totality of the season, he has played better than Cousins. He's played better than Dalton because Dalton's only played a couple games. He's been better than Cam Newton. He's been better than Taysom Hill. Last night we saw him in Tampa Bay go 39 for 51 for 376 yards, 3 touchdowns. I know he threw 2 picks, but Cam Newton does it a lot. Taysom Hill has played 1 game. They only put up 24 points against an atrocious Atlanta Falcons defense. Andy Dalton, we've only seen a couple times. Kirk Cousins was absolutely atrocious for the first half of this season. When you look at this, Jared Goff should be much higher than 17.
I could see an argument for putting him ahead of Newton and Taysom Hill. I think I would leave him below Dalton just because Dalton had played well this past weekend, better than Jared Goff at this point.
Whoa, now, come on. Dallas beat Minnesota. Jared Goff went to Tampa Bay and beat Tampa Bay. You said Tampa Bay on this show yesterday would win the game because Tom Brady was better than Jared Goff. Last night, Tom Brady was not better than Jared Goff. Tom Brady made 2 hugely bad throws that cost his team the game. Jared Goff took advantage of it. Jared Goff is winning football games. Jared Goff should be in the top 15 easily, and he should definitely be ahead of Andy Dalton, Kirk Cousins, Cam Newton, and Taysom Hill.
I think Jared Goff.
Come on, Sam.
The Taysom Hill pick I might have to revise a little bit. But really, I am worried about Jared Goff. And I'll be honest with you. Last night, he did throw 2 interceptions, and there were opportunities there. Tampa Bay had every chance to win that game. They just didn't take advantage of it. They had that ball. They had that opportunity to drive down and win the game.
Take advantage of it. Tom Brady didn't take advantage of it. Last night on the show, you said Tampa Bay wins because Brady is better than Goff. You have Brady ranked at number 8. Goff's team has a better record. They went to Tampa and beat him, and Goff outplayed Brady. How the hell are you going to put him at 17 when you look at all that and put Brady at number 8?
Hey, Brady's played much better so far this year early on, except for that 1 game against Horse.
Has he really? Pull up their stats real quick. Give me touchdowns.
I got Jared Goff in front of me right now. I'll pull Brady's up in a second. Let's see. Of course, it could be a little bit more of a legacy ranking. I'm not totally ruling out my own stupidity here, but all right. So Tom Brady has 2,955 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Jared Goff, 2,823 yards, 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
Okay, and what is their record?
Goff 7-3, Brady is 7-4.
Okay, so I think the divide between 8 and 17 is ridiculous. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't put Brady ahead of him because I would, because I've already said that. But Jared Goff should fall somewhere between 10 and 13.
I can understand that. I probably had him closer to 14 or 15, though, because of, Phillip Rivers and Ryan Tannehill would be up there as well.
All right, next up, 18, Lamar Jackson, 19, Alex Smith, 20, Tua Tagovailoa. I think this is about right. I think Lamar Jackson is what he is. He is in the bottom half of quarterbacks in the NFL. And you know what? I surprisingly don't get any more grief about this. I got grief up until about a month ago Now, I don't have anybody say a word when I say Lamar Jackson is not that good. He is a great athlete. He's not a quarterback. Alex Smith gets his first win. I think he definitely sews up the comeback player of the year. And he had a passer rating of 83.1 against a terrible Bengals defense. And Washington is only a half game behind the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC East. Tua Tagovailoa had a bad game, struggled to move the ball. Happens with a rookie. If it happens again this week, then I'll worry more about it.
Yeah, I mean, I give Tua a little bit of a pass here. Obviously, you have to drop him in the rankings just because it was a very bad game for him. Let's be honest. But it happens with rookie quarterbacks. We've seen it happen in the past, and they rebound. So, to me, I'm not going to crush Tua based on one game alone, especially against the Denver defense. To me, that's been underrated all year long. And that's the reason why I picked Denver to be a playoff team before the season started to begin with. I think Tua is still going to be a very good quarterback. And as for Alex Smith, I mean, he's been good. I don't know if he'll be good enough to get Washington ahead of Andy Dalton and the Dallas Cowboys. They still play this coming week on Thursday on Thanksgiving, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think there's a lot of momentum in Washington, though. It'll be interesting to see how the season ends for them.
And Bobby Sharon left a comment agreeing with me. He says, great job, Mike. Goff is leading his team more proficiently than Brady, and that showed last night. Also, I want to tell Bobby, if you want Sam to see everything you say and everybody else, you can, when you watch the show on YouTube, Facebook Live, any of those things, you can actually comment on the show as we go. And as long as I remember to go over and check, we'll get your comments on the air. Where are we at here? We are at number 21. Number 21, Matt Ryan, 2 interceptions. Baker Mayfield, number 22. PJ Walker, number 23. Number 24, Matthew Stafford. I don't think anybody thought PJ Walker would be ranked ahead of Matthew Stafford when this started, but I also think it's safe to say a lot of that is because of the thumb injury.
Yeah, a lot of it. You can see that Stafford clearly wasn't quite right this weekend. Although I can make the argument PJ Walker could have been in the top 20 had he just not made those 2 very bad throws for interceptions, because they were driving to score both those occasions. They actually threw them into the opposing team's end zone when they were intercepted. If Walker turns even one of those into touchdowns, I think he's a top 20 quarterback for the week at the very least, because he had a very good game if you just get rid of those 2 dumb mistakes.
All right. Next up, and I think PJ Walker to top 20 off of one game is really kind of pushing it. But 25, Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones should be higher than 25. I think Daniel Jones should be ahead of PJ Walker. I mean, Daniel Jones played maybe the best game he's played 2 weeks ago. He's been sporadic all season, but I think he's done more than PJ Walker.
Yeah, maybe a little bit for the season, but I would argue the argument, we do a sort of a combination of seasonal rankings versus week-by-week rankings. It's a little bit of a mishmash between the 2 of them when I throw this together. And to me, Daniel Jones, I would rather have PJ Walker for a game than Daniel Jones, Mike. And I know you're probably not going to agree with that whatsoever, but I would much rather take my hits.
That's absolutely asinine to say. I mean, he made 2 huge mistakes against the Detroit Lions. He beat the freaking Detroit Lions with a Matt Stafford who's missing a thumb. And I'm not going to sit here and say I want PJ Walker over Daniel Jones, because really, right now, if I ask you, who do you think has the best chance to still be a starting quarterback in the NFL a month from now? And it's going to be Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is better than PJ Walker. That may change, but I don't think it is.
Probably won't. You're right. But still, Daniel Jones has a lot to prove to me here. I mean, Daniel Jones has a lot to prove to everyone. He's got 8 touchdowns, 9 interceptions this year.
Doesn't PJ Walker have something to prove to somebody? I mean, he played in the XFL 9 months ago. Now he's in the NFL. He gets his first start. He's played 1 game. He hasn't proven anything either. He played 1 game. And the thing is this, the game PJ Walker played, is it not correct? It is really similar to games that Daniel Jones plays. He's 24 for 34, 258 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. If that doesn't say I'm Daniel Jones, I don't know what does.
You got a little bit of a point there. I'll admit that. But
you know what? I think everybody that watches this show, every time you say you got a little bit of a point there, should take a shot, because they would be freaking drunk by the time this show was over every day.
You got a little bit of a point there. No, I'm kidding.
See?
Daniel Jones, really, I think the Giants still have hope here to make the playoffs. I really do. I think Daniel Jones could finish this year in the top 20, maybe in the top 15 if we get Zach together here down the stretch. I do have hope for Daniel Jones. It's just that, as a first-round pick, you can't admit he's been disappointing the first for a year and a half of his career.
Well, I can tell you this. After you get about past number 17. Everybody here is disappointing. Ryan Fitzpatrick at 26. Is there any word on who they're going to start this week? Are they going back to Tua?
They are sticking with Tua. Brian Flores even said
Well,
immediately
you know
after.
what? If you're going back to Tua, why the hell did you leave him to begin with?
Exactly.
I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick came in. What would they have done if Fitzpatrick would have won them the game? They'd have went back to Tua. So just go with Tua. 27, Joe Flacco. I mean, he's Joe Flacco. He's old. He can't move. I mean, what the hell? Joe Flacco's getting whatever Joe Flacco's got left in the tank out of himself. 28, Carson Wentz. I don't know how Carson Wentz can be ranked in the top 40 the way he's played this season. 29, Nick Mullins. Number 30, Drew Lock. 31, Nick Foles. 32, Ryan Finley. And I'm sorry, Ryan, but everybody I just mentioned sucks.
No, I agree. Everyone below what you said. You said 17. I'd say everyone below 19 this past weekend was terrible. I think you say everyone below 21 in general is not it's not good at all.
Well, I'm just saying overall for the season, everybody from 18 down has been a disappointment, except for Alex Smith, who hadn't played. I mean, the fact he's even playing makes him not a disappointment.
Right.
Tua hasn't been a disappointment. I don't know that Matt Ryan's a disappointment or Matt Ryan's just stuck in a really bad situation.
It's hard to tell.
Baker Mayfield's a game manager. PJ Walker can't be a disappointment because nobody expected anything, so I don't know how he could disappoint you. Matthew Stafford, I think, has got an injury. Daniel Jones is always a disappointment. Ryan Fitzpatrick is always the same. He's hot or he's cold. You know, Ryan Fitzpatrick will play 1 week and he looks like the top 10 guy. The next 3 weeks, he looks like a guy that should be ranked 32. And then he comes back and looks like a top 10 guy for a week. Joe Flacco can't be a disappointment because he's still standing upright at an advanced age. Carson Wentz has been an utter failure this year. And I love Carson Wentz. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't know what the hell's going on there, but utter disappointment. Nick Mullins is what Nick Mullins is. He's just a guy. He's a quality backup quarterback. Drew Lock is a disappointment, and it's a disappointment. It's probably going to cause Vic Fangio his job. Nick Foles is a disappointment. That could cost the Bears' entire coaching staff their job. Ryan Finley is a guy who I don't even think himself believes he should be an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, and now we're going to see Ryan Finley for the next 6 weeks or so.
I'm hoping. They also got Brandon Allen they can throw in to lose games. But, you know.
That's right. They brought him in, right?
Yeah, and of course, everybody a part of Black Lives Matter in Cincinnati wants Colin Kaepernick to be the starting quarterback here now.
Well, Colin Kaepernick hasn't played in the NFL in 5 years?
Yeah, but he's still better than Ryan Finley. I mean, if Colin Kaepernick was 48 years old and hadn't played in 20 years, he'd be better than Ryan Finley. I mean, Ryan Finley's a guy that, personally said last year when he was a starter, he was not ready. So if he's ready now, he sure to hell didn't look like it against Washington. 3 for 10, 30 yards and an interception. So things are going to get ugly in Cincinnati. But hey, things always get ugly in Cincinnati because it's Cincinnati. And that's what happens in Cincinnati, whether it's the Reds, the Bearcats, Xavier. All of them fail in the end, and they usually fail in the most amazing ways you could even think. And did you see the SI.com article about the Bengals?
No, I didn't. What did it say? I'll pull it up right now.
The headline is an inside look at the Bengals' toxic culture. And it talks about how, they're 4-21-1 right now. And they talk about how the players are unhappy. The players don't believe in him. They even talk about Carlos Dunlap and the game they lost to Cleveland on Thursday Night Football. It was like 35-30, where they sat him for an entire quarter and then wanted him all of a sudden to go in the game. He refused, and after the game, they held a team meeting where Zach Taylor and the defensive coordinator actually called him out in front of the entire team for that. That's something you don't do. And, multiple people within the organization believe players are staying quiet because they don't want to lose playing time. They say there is very little trust between the players and the coaching staff. Taylor declined to comment when I asked about trust issues between his players and staff. Why would you decline to comment? I mean, even if there aren't any, you're going to tell everybody there's no issue. And instead of pulling the two-time Pro Bowler Dunlap aside, they singled him out in hopes of setting the standard for the team. Multiple players on the team were rubbed the wrong way when they watched this situation play out. One player said, "I've never seen that in my life. It was awkward." And it was no secret that Dunlap and the coaching staff butted heads. The thing that's amazing is Dunlap all of a sudden is performing well in Seattle. But see, the difference is this: the Bengals decided to basically make him a two-gap defensive end. And a two-gap defensive end means he's not being aggressive. He's not running a quarterback or rushing a quarterback. And he's just kind of sitting back. And that is not the way Carlos Dunlap plays. So when you look at that, it's no surprise that he would be that way. And you got John Ross, who tried to force his way out of town before the trade deadline. He had grown frustrated with his role and lack of communication from the coaching staff. In October, the former first-round pick took to Twitter to respond to some of the criticism he had received. He said, "It's not a secret that I've requested a trade. Trade me if this is how y'all feel. I'm healthy and eager to play. I know I can be productive. It's hard to love something when you're not actually participating in it. Believe me, it's not football that I don't like." Now, to me, it seems like there's a complete disconnect. Sources say that defensive coordinator, and this is true, because I do a Bengal show with Joe Kelly, and he was even saying this last year, that the defensive coordinator is unapproachable, and they add that he regularly uses abusive language and commonly calls players dumb mother effers and dumbasses. Now, these are grown-ass men. The F word is nothing. All right, I can tell you this. When I played high school football in 1983 at South Dearborn High School, we had a head coach by the name of Nick Red, and he was a miserable son of a bitch, and he was a horrible football coach. And he liked to cuss. But the problem was he would direct a profanity at you, like, "You dumb mother." You know what? It's just not getting mad and screaming the F word. He's basically calling you a dumb mother effer. I mean, a guy like Lou Anarumo should not even be a coach because of that. And it says here that you got players saying he has created an environment where communication and accountability are scarce. He often yells at one player for mistakes and chooses to ignore the mistakes of other players in his favor. Now, Taylor declined to comment when asked about Anarumo's language and coaching style. Offensive line coach Jim Turner also utilizes abusive language, and according to multiple members of the organization, in the spring he called former Ohio State Buckeye Isaiah Prince a thug during a Zoom meeting. Now, he later apologized for it, but why would you call your own player a thug? Jim Turner is the same guy that at Texas A&M got busted for sexual harassment, but yet Zach Taylor wanted to hire him as his offensive line coach. He is also, Jim Turner is the same guy that went on TV a month ago and said he thought Bobby Hart was the most underrated left tackle in professional football, or right tackle in professional football. Bobby Hart is trash. Bobby Hart shouldn't even be on the field in an NFL football game. So when you look at it, I mean, Michael Jordan, prime example, it talks about here. I mean, Michael Jordan's the one that got Joe Burrow hurt. And it says here several people are growing frustrated, but to lay low and keep working in hopes of being in a better situation in the future. Veteran leaders are the glue that holds the pieces together. It is up to Taylor and his staff to flip the script, demand accountability, and actively fix the culture in Cincinnati. My point is this, and you've heard me talk about this before. You cannot actively fix the culture that you create.
Yeah.
It is done.
I mean, this is on them. You talked about different members of this coaching staff. This is on them. They've had this issue for the past 2 years. They've not created a culture. And at this point, their culture is negligence. And you mentioned Carlos Dunlap. Look what he's done in Seattle. I mean, he had the game-winning sack to Kyler Murray this past weekend. He's been great in Seattle. But you don't play him. You don't play a leader like Geno Atkins on the team. You don't actively play those guys, turn to those guys for help, and winning over the locker room. And look what happens.
Hey, the Bengals get what they deserve. And you hire inept coaches. I mean, if they really wanted to turn this around 2 years ago, they just offer Eric Bieniemy a bunch of money and tell him the franchise is his, do with it what you want. And this team right now would be winning. And I hear all kind of dumbass Bengal fans who go on social media and say, well, the situation he was in, how you can't really expect him to turn around right away. You know, Brian Flores has. Brian Flores has had the exact same situation. The Miami Dolphins had less talent than the Bengals did last year. You know, and last year, for some reason, Andy Dalton gets benched for Ryan Finley, and you leave him benched while Ryan Finley goes 0-6. You bring Dalton back at the end of the season, and he wins you your 2 games. I mean, it makes no damn sense. I mean, the organization is a joke. I've said it before. Zach Taylor, Jim Turner, Lou Anarum, these are all disgusting individuals. We're not even talking about coaches. And I can tell you this, I know enough people on this team, I know enough people around this team to tell you that you wouldn't let them babysit your kids because they're that miserable. You know, if you want somebody to go out and drink and harass a woman, go get the Cincinnati Bengals coaching staff because they'll be all over that shit. But if you got to win a football game, better not call them. I wouldn't let him coach my son's third grade team when he was in the third grade because they're just, a lack of character as a coach usually means that your accountability and your culture is going to be shit because as human beings, they are shit. And I'm sorry to use that word, but there is no way to describe the Cincinnati Bengals organization other than just the word shit. What they ought to do is they ought to let them play on Thursday night and have a collar rush uniform and just on the helmet, make the helmet white and just a big pile of shit on the side of it because that would be the Bengals because they're shit.
Yeah, you're pretty passionate about this because you're kind of reaching the breaking point, I believe, after the last 2 years.
I reached a breaking point after Jeremy Hill fumbled the ball in the playoff game. That's when I realized ain't nothing getting any better. And I mean, I know me and Joe Kelly, Ty Robbins do a Bengals weekly show. And I remember a couple of years ago, everybody wanted to get rid of Marvin Lewis. I wanted to get rid of Marvin Lewis, but my biggest concern I brought up on the show is that's great you get rid of Marvin Lewis, but as a Bengal fan, my immediate reaction was, how do you know they're going to hire anybody better? I mean, Marvin Lewis was a good enough football coach. 2 years ago, he went 6-10. Same talent the next year. Zach Taylor goes 2-14. Zach Taylor this year is going to go 2-13-1. So he's going to have a half game improvement. That's it. Everybody goes, well, Joe Burrow was hurt. And, this guy was hurt. This guy was, I don't care. The Philadelphia Eagles, even though they're playing like crap, still have won 4 games because they got a good football coach. And people don't realize an NFL player is an NFL player. Everybody's got NFL talent. Zach Taylor's like 1-13 in one-score games. So it's not like the Bengals are so under-talented that they get blown out every game. They're under-coached, so they lose close games. And they're under-coached, so when they play really good teams, yeah, they get their ass kicked because they're shit. Anything else, Sam?
No, I think you put the nail in the coffin of the Cincinnati Bengals, Mike. You just recapped it, though. Like, the culture is a problem. And they're not taking advantage of all the pieces they have. They really aren't.
No.
But you're making a lot of excuses for Zach Taylor, and there's no Zach Taylor. We know what Zach Taylor is as a coach. He's not a coach.
Yeah.
And he should
He's
be a
a
head coach
spineless little coward. I bet he couldn't even use Manscaped because he has no balls.
Nice transition there, Mike.
Well, I mean, it's true. It's not even a transition. He has no balls. He has no guts. He's a coward. Nobody on this staff probably could use Manscaped. Jim Turner might, but he would probably use it on other people because he's a scumbag. But make sure you go to manscaped.com. And how about this? Everybody out there, you need to make a gift here. You can send it to the Cincinnati Bengals organization. You can send it to Zach Taylor. And when he opens it, there's Rondo jumping around in the background because he hates the Bengals too now. But you can just send it in care of Zach Taylor. And then inside you can say, hey, when you grow some balls, here, you can shave them.
That'd probably be an interesting promotional way for Manscaped to get around this and make some money.
I think it would be great. Zach Taylor, grow some balls, get the Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0. And if you want to send it to Zach, you can use the promo code TGT20 to get 20% off plus free shipping. Have you shaved your balls yet, Sam?
What, with Manscaped recently?
Yeah.
I told you before, I use it more I don't use it on my balls. I use it to shave the beard.
Really? How do you shave your balls then, Sam? Or do you just grow wild in your legs?
Mike, I just let it go.
You could get a little midget to swing on the vine like, Tarzan or something.
I don't even know how to respond to that one, Mike.
Well, I want to know. So you never shave your balls, Sam?
I'm not giving you this whole discussion. Do you shave your balls, Mike? When did you shave your balls?
Yes, I shaved my balls. I shaved my balls 2 days ago because I went to Panama City and I was gone for 5 days and forgot my Manscaped. And then I was stubbly. What?
Where's this conversation going? I don't know what you want from me. I give you an answer to the question.
I just want you to use Manscaped and shave your balls and then report back to everybody. I have no nicks, no cuts, nothing. It was comfortable to shave my balls.
I already told you it was a great product. I already told you it was better than anything you buy at stores. And you know what? If you use that promo code TG20 for 20% off, it's better than anything you're going to buy in stores, and it's cheaper as well.
All right, Teach, you got to shave your balls by tomorrow and report back to everybody.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Why not? Are you afraid to shave your balls?
No, I just don't want to do it.
Zach Taylor and you don't have any balls?
No, don't compare me to Zach Taylor, Mike. Come on, be kind here. Don't do that.
You look slightly older than Zach Taylor.
I do.
But why are you afraid to shave your balls, Sam?
I'm not afraid of anything, Mike.
You're not afraid of anything?
No, that's not entirely true.
I know, because you're obviously afraid to shave your balls.
I just don't want it.
Why not? You like to be hairy down there?
No, I just don't want it. Not right now.
Well, you're going to shave your balls because we're going to do this. We're going to pick the games this coming weekend. And if you lose, you have to shave your balls. Not on air, even though that would be preferable to get a bigger audience. But you will have to shave your balls Sunday night.
Fine. Sure, whatever. We'll go with it.
All right. So make sure you go to manscaped.com. Use promo code TGT20. Perfect Christmas gift for your loved one. And you can keep your beard nice and trimmed the way Sam does.
Exactly. You mentioned use it anywhere on your body.
Yeah. And you should. But we're going to wrap it up for now. I want to remind everybody you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker. Huh. Okay. Well, Bobby loves my passion today. So there you go. And Bobby, don't you think Sam should shave his balls like a man? And I want to know if Bobby Sheridan has got Manscaped yet so he can shave his balls. How about this? If you buy Manscaped and you use the promo code TGT20, we'll have you on air so you can tell everybody about your ball shaving experience.
That'd be good.
It would be. What the hell? Why not? It'll give us something to talk about when we run out of stuff during the week for the football stuff. Tomorrow, we'll be back at 1 o'clock to preview all the Thanksgiving Day games on Thursday and also to go through Sam's power rankings. Correct, Sam?
Yep, they'll be ready for tomorrow.
All right, guys. Remember, you can hear us on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. You can hear us live every day at Twitch, DLive, Periscope, YouTube, Facebook Live. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. Go to The Grueling Truth Sports Network, I think, is what we're on there. Just search The Grueling Truth. Also, check us out on Rockfin, which you can get premium content also that you can't get on thegruelingtruth.com. So make sure you check out Rockfin too. You can sign up there for free. So for now, for Sam Teets, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening and watching to The Grueling Truth, where the legends